Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this broadcast, I highly recommend turning down your listening device, for things are about to get loud. Get your paint on! See, I warned him.
Okay. I thought you were going to go creepy with that.
Yeah.
Because
No.
we're talking about level 7 today.
Oh, yeah.
I thought you were going to like, this is a pirate radio broadcast
pirate
bringing
radio
you the
from-
truth about what's going on out there.
From Bunker Alpha Bravo.
No, Alpha Bravo's blown up.
What is this bunker? Level 7.
This is probably we're in the lore. We're probably in a trailer in like Wyoming right now that's
Yeah.
buried underground.
We're gonna bring you the truth about the alien menace. Oh my God,
Yeah.
I feel like what's his name from Eight-Legged Freaks?
I can't remember his name.
What was
David
that?
Arquette?
No, no. You haven't seen the movie, obviously.
I have. I just can't think of who.
The
it
ra-
is
I
out
can't
there.
remember who plays the radio guy.
It
in
was
that.
Dougie Doug. Dougie Doug
Oh,
played
it
the radio
was
guy.
Dougie. Yeah, I haven't seen that movie since it came out. I'm sorry, Dallas. I'm letting you down already.
That movie's amazing.
So folks are already asking what we're painting today.
Yeah, I'm getting there. What we got here? So we got, we're painting the level 7 girl because we're talking about level 7.
Level 7 girl.
Our commander, our lady, our badass commander for our level 7 Kickstarter. It starts next Monday. And I'm going to be painting on the new miniature that will be available with this Kickstarter, the alternate sculpt level 7 commander.
The team leader.
Team leader. Joining me today is Mr. Oz Schoonover,
Hi.
the developer of level 7 Omega Protocol. And on the mixed microphone beatbox board, something like that, is Mr. John Swinkles.
Well, you can't say that I'm on the beatbox board if I don't like at least do a half
Fact.
crappy attempt at beatboxing.
Fact. So we're going to paint our little level 7 commander alternate sculpt.
So, and this model is resin. It's a Kickstarter exclusive. It's not going to be made with the regular reprint
Nope.
of the game in the regular plastic. It's going to be an exclusive that you can get in the deal, but it's going to be in resin. We already had some questions on the internet about that, of what material is that model going to be made in.
She is going to be resin. We're making her right here in beautiful downtown sunny Bellevue, which is not where we're at because we're in
close to downtown.
We're in the middle of New Mexico broadcasting.
Man,
secret
don't
radio.
get me started on New Mexico. Have you been to New Mexico?
We're going to lean into this, Oz. I'm trying to lean into
lived
this.
in New Mexico.
I'm trying to lean into this, Oz. The
Lean
level
into it.
7.
Lean in.
To the
all the way.
microphone. There's my noggin. Leaned into it.
So we were talking about this this paint job beforehand, and the team leader's name in the first game in the setting is Joseph Hernandez.
Mm-hmm.
So are you going to paint her as an alternate version of Josephine Hernandez?
Yeah. That's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to paint her up, and I'm just going to have fun with her. I'm not going to do anything super serious.
Well, that's kind of the point.
Yeah, just gonna have fun. Get her painted up so when we play again, because I really enjoy this game. It's a lot of fun. It's a clever little board game. We can maybe use her painted up.
Does that mean Pagani has to paint Meat Sack?
Pagani needs to paint the meat sack. If you don't know, the meat sack is a person in a big robot suit, and it's freaking awesome.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, we did live stream on Tuesday.
He was getting work done with those rocket pods or barrage.
That
or
the
whatever.
barrage pod
Yeah.
yes, it's a giant shotgun made of missiles,
Like you do.
and you can shoot it a couple of times if you build that character correctly.
I love missile shotguns.
Well, it got some work done.
It did. It missed some things too, though, because that's what it does.
You know what else got work done? 9 inches of steel.
Wow, there's all these callbacks to people that if they didn't watch that, they don't understand what's going on right now.
And generally on Thursdays and Fridays is when all that stuff gets uploaded to YouTube, so they'll be able to watch it pretty soon. But that one's about 2 hours long, so it takes a little longer.
It's a long one.
Yeah, we've played 2-hour weekly Rumbles of War Machine before too,
Sure.
so it wasn't.
Oh,
it
absolutely.
wasn't.
Yeah, no, it's not.
It
Crazy
wasn't like
long.
a
It
6-hour
just-
marathon.
No, it takes the internet sometimes to move things around.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
If anybody doesn't understand what Omega Protocol is, it is the second game in the Level 7 series. There are 3. Escape is the first one. Omega Protocol, and then Invasion.
And they build upon each other, right?
And they build upon each
Okay.
other like a movie trilogy. And they also use completely different mechanics. So Escape and Omega Protocol and Invasion are in no way connected to each other mechanically, just storyline-wise. And Omega Protocol is the middle of the game when the government and the aliens have started fighting, and their relationship is broken down. So the government sends in secret covert ops, wetworks teams to clean the facility
Clean.
and shut things down with explosives, because all of these places are big underground bases, and I think one of them is in New Mexico in the setting. Subterra Bravo, I believe, is in a mountain.
There
in
is no
Mexico.
Subterra Bravo.
Not anymore, especially. But all the Subterra facilities are some sort of places, underground, secret military bases, because the government has had a conspiracy with these aliens again since about the 50s, where they've been trading gen technology for human test subjects
All right, well, hang on.
and other things.
Hang on, you're going too fast. You're going too fast. Gotta slow down here for a
Well,
second.
you were being quiet, so I was just going.
So, let's show again. This is again.
That is Dr. Kronos. That is the main guy.
The main gin.
He's the the core of the setting. He's the main character in all three games, kind of. He influences everything you do in a good way and a negative way. And he's kind of a horrible creature.
He's kind of a bad dude.
He's a bad dude.
Although in Invasion you have to help him out.
So,
Because he's in trouble, and he's the only
in the first
hope we
one,
have.
you play.
In the first
You play the survivors.
you
right?
play a test subject
Oh.
that breaks out of storage, like big glass tanks full of goo storage in the basement. Doesn't know where you are, how you got there. You have no memory of the the last 48 hours.
Spending time in goo in a basement.
And creepy stuff is coming after you in the dark.
Other than being in goo in a basement, which is already pretty
Yeah.
damn creepy.
Yeah. So you spend all 7 missions of that game running for your life, trying to escape.
and it's all about fear.
It is
right?
all about fear. And the storyline of that one is the conspiracy is going along smoothly enough. The aliens and the humans don't really like each other, but they've been working together.
But the government's happy.
And the government's kind of happy, and the aliens are kind of happy, but there's not a lot of trust on both sides.
No.
And you, because you're rambunctious and terrified,
Ambitious even.
every mission involves you ruining something, and eventually all-out war just starts inside this facility.
Are you
and
talking
you're
like
running
breaking
around.
stuff?
Well, so in the
Sabotage.
first mission, you just want to run. You just want to get to the next place,
Right.
and that creates a higher security threat. But the aliens and the humans are still working together. And in one of the missions, one of your subset goals, your side quest, as it were, is to get the aliens and humans to start fighting. And once you do that, then there are 2 kinds of bad guys on the table: guards and aliens.
And aliens.
And they will fight each other instead of you if you can manipulate them in the right way. And you go through that entire storyline, basically pushing all the buttons, opening all the doors, doing all the things, and that's why Omega Protocol happens. So
And Omega Protocol is you're the badass team of Marines moving through the facility, cleaning it.
yeah,
Which is the Omega Protocol.
yeah, it's why it's called Omega Protocol, because it's the
Initiate-
shutdown.
Yeah, initiate
We-
Omega Protocol.
The government has always had a plan, and they've always had these commandos that are trained, and some of them have some alien tech. And
Meat sack.
like Meat Sack and the countermeasure specialist and some other stuff. And they know how to deal with this stuff, or they're the best prepared to deal with it. And they go into the facility and they shut it down. Now, the cool thing about that is,
Suddenly, violently, and all over the place.
yeah, none of them have ever been there. Nobody has a schematic. There's no records. Even inside the facility, there are very bad records of what's actually going on.
Yeah.
And what buildings have been, what tunnels have been dug, and what rooms have been reevaluated, and what walls have been torn down or put back up. And that's
Because
reflected.
Secret facility.
Well, yeah, that's reflected in Escape, because you're running around on tiles that you explore, and sometimes a tile will rotate behind you, and the door will not be there anymore, so you're lost.
Yeah.
In this game, we lay out the entire map, but we populate the map with cards that are face down, so the players don't know what they're going into. And sometimes a tile might flip over and be a more dangerous version of that tile. So you'll see that there are 3 or 4 tiles that could flip, but you don't know where the 1 card or 2 cards that will flip those tiles are. And that really adds to the replayability of the game, because you can play the same mission with the same people numerous times, and you get a lot of tricksy stuff, especially from the Overseer side, trying to outsmart the players by convincing them that he's done the same thing as last time or a different thing than last time. And as you saw in our live stream, if you watched it, and you can see when it's up on YouTube, Schick and I have played this game a lot. So Schick kind of knew what I was doing.
kind of knew what you were doing.
Kind of.
Definitely led the team to victory.
But next week, we're going to play with some more inexperienced players, and it might be worse for them.
How many players is Escape,
so,
Omega Protocol, and Invasion?
Omega Protocol is 2 to 6. You can play. You always have to have an Overseer. It is a 1 versus many game. But the Commandos can be played by 1 to 5 players. There are 5 Commandos in the base game, and there are 2 extra Commandos in the expansion Extreme Prejudice, because that's how you take out aliens with Extreme Prejudice.
That is how you initiate Omega Protocol.
I mean, that's how I take out tacos too.
Yeah, but you always play with 5 Commandos. So the extra 2 heroes in the expansion gives you 7 to choose from when you're building 5.
Is that the same case in Escape?
No, in Escape you can play with 1 to 4, and you can play that game solo because there's no bad guy player.
Gotcha.
In Invasion, you can technically play it by yourself, and someone on Board Game Geek has posted videos of themselves doing that. Each one is about 2.5 hours long, and I think they have 5 videos.
Yeah.
It's a little bit long if you're playing it by yourself.
Yeah, but speaking of Board Game Geek, like if you go there for Omega Protocol, Invasion, Escape, any of this stuff, like there's a pretty solid community.
Yeah, especially Omega Protocol, because Omega Protocol is in a popular category. It's a dungeon crawl game, effectively, and it is a sci-fi dungeon crawl game, which a lot of those don't exist. And it's a modern dungeon crawl game. So at the time it was published originally 5 years ago, it might have been the only modern dungeon crawl game really that was still in print and stuff. And the other thing that I like a lot about it, and some people complain about, but some people like, is that you don't really find loot in this game.
Right.
You come in, like Dallas said, as a badass Marine. You're a commando.
But Schick found a flashlight.
Yes. So you're prepared, like, you build your character the way you want your character to work. If you're playing the heavy weapons specialist, you can bring in napalm grenades. You can bring in suspensors that help your guns shoot better.
Like you do.
Or you can build your character a couple different ways. There's 8 kit cards in the base game. There's an extra kit card for every commando in the expansion. And the bonus contents that are part of this Kickstarter are going to have another kit card. So eventually there'll be 10 kit cards for you to pick from, and you pay points for them. And so you can only take 3 to 4 to 5 maybe kit cards, depending on how many players you're playing.
Sure.
So you can build your character a lot different.
So go ahead.
That Umber and something else you've got mixed going on there?
Who knows? I've been
Deathless
painting for
Metal?
so long, and no one's asked me what I'm doing.
Is that my favorite color that we make? Is it Deathless Metal? Or is it a mix of brown and something else?
So her skin, I've mixed up a slight mix of Idrian flesh and a little touch of rucksack tan, and did a base coat app. And then I added a little bit of Mid-Off White highlight and Cardiac Flesh to highlight. And then a little more Mid-Off White highlight to highlight that. And then I shaded with Battlefield Brown. Now I'm painting with just, because she's a badass Marine, she's wearing like that awesome carbon fiber armor kind of stuff. So I'm going with Boiler Black, right? Because since Boiler Black's a semi-metallic, you don't want it like a super metallic.
Yeah.
So we're going with Boiler Black, and then we'll shade that down.
And then Rikers had a question. Oz, basically the short version is, will there be any additional content and scenarios and stuff like that beyond the Kickstarter campaign that'll be on the website? I know we've done that in the past. With
So
like
right now there's a little bit of everything scattered all over the place. And part of the Kickstarter bonus materials are gathering that stuff together.
Right.
Like there was in an issue of No Quarter in 2013, there was one Omega Protocol.
Right.
So we're going to put that in the bonus material.
Get it all together, right?
The biggest, most exciting thing about this mission-wise is if anyone's been in the Lock and Load since 2014, they have possibly played in the Crucible event, which is Subterra Alpha, because there are multiple Subterra facilities. Bravo is the one that Omega Protocol focuses on.
Right.
So we tell the story of Subterra Alpha in this big multiplayer up to 16 or more players playing all at once. Each team of commandos is on a table, and all 4 tables are being played simultaneously. We've never published that before.
Right.
That's going to be in the bonus material, and there's going to be
that's dope.
2 versions of playing it. There's going to be a version to play it as a campaign where you play each mission in a row, and certain things that happen in each mission might affect other missions. But I'm also going to publish the play it as one big giant event
Big old
rules.
16 player.
So 16
Simultaneous.
is the average, because you have up to
Right.
5 heroes, so you can play with 20 heroes and 4 overseers all at once. So if you have a giant friends group, or you want to run it at a convention or whatever,
Sure.
then those rules will be published too.
And
If anybody's playing this at a convention, I'll totally play.
Yeah, no kidding.
Mm-hmm.
Necromancer 120 ran one last year. Ran that 1 year at Lock and Load.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently his aliens wrecked some Marines.
Mm-hmm.
Necromancer also says she turned out nice first time seeing physical copy. This is actually pretty much the first time anybody's seen the physical copy. You couldn't
we had it on
really
the
see
stream,
it
it was
on the
tiny.
stream.
Yeah.
But, like I said, there'd be a close-up. And boom, there it is.
Yeah.
This is and she is resin, in case you missed that, in case you're just joining in. And there was another question. Oh, Telemachus says, how long will the Kickstarter run?
It runs basically, so it starts on the 15th and essentially runs through the end of the month. It's not a terribly long one, because people have said that, you know, there's a demand for there was a demand for a reprint of this game. We wanted to touch up a couple of quality life improvements in the rules and make new minis.
So these are not resculpts. They are just a far higher quality of plastic.
Yep.
We can show that off.
Well,
here.
and we're going to show that off in a little bit.
Yep.
As soon as Dallas gets done with all this.
All this
So
tedium.
this was also the first board game we published of a substantial weight, you know. So we were experimenting with plastic quality and stuff, and some of the detail we wanted in the miniatures, the factory at the time couldn't do without the miniatures being soft enough to pull them out of the mold safely.
Yep.
So there's been advances in the technology since then, and other stuff, and so we've gotten samples from the same molds with better plastic that Dallas is going to show you the bendiness of.
And of
when
course,
he's
you know,
done.
like then people are obviously following up with, you know, the standard kind of Kickstarter questions. What about stretch goals? All that other kind of good stuff. This is just about the simplest Kickstarter we could possibly do.
Yeah.
It's basically get the game. As far as price points, look for it to be real similar, if not the same as the MSRP of Omega Protocol, which I think was around 90.
It was 90, yeah.
Yeah, and then basically it's just if you don't have Omega Protocol, this is your chance to get it, and you're going to get a slightly better quality of stuff in there, including some quality of life improvements to the rules.
Yeah.
Not major changes, but...
And if you own the game and the expansion and you just want the bonus materials, there's going to be a backer level for bonus materials.
Correct. Yeah, but as
Which
far
is
as stretch
awesome.
goals, no stretch goals.
Yeah.
As far as add-ons, no add-ons. I think the only thing we have is we have a get the whole thing bundle, which includes Extreme Prejudice.
Yeah, one of the things about this being a second
At a
edition,
slight discount, I think.
it's
too.
not a big overhaul of the rules. It's errata and polishing certain elements of the rules.
Right.
So it's 100% compatible with the existing expansion.
Yep.
And we are going to offer the existing expansion if you have never got it as part of the Kickstarter.
I didn't have that. I had I have the game, but I didn't have the expansion.
If you don't know anything about the expansion's really fun because storyline wise, Kronos, after Disco Team, which is the heroes in Omega Protocol, after they blow up the entire facility, Kronos somehow escapes because bad guys always run away.
Yeah.
Because level 7 escape.
So the Russians, during the Cold War and everything, they would steal technology from America, and every once in a while,
And vice versa. Yeah.
every once in a while, they come across a piece of technology that was obviously not human. So the Russians' covert operations have also known the aliens existed, but they haven't had the resources the Americans have because they haven't had that relationship. But Kronos has been in contact with the Russians, and he runs away
He's
to a
working
secret
with
base in
them.
Siberia. So Extreme Prejudice is following a team that includes again Commando. So one of the aliens joins the humans hunting Kronos because he doesn't like him. And so your team goes through a Russian facility that also includes human guards. So there are human guards in the expansion that you can throw into your
KG
game.
Beasts.
They're not They're not quite that high quality of Russian guards.
Okay.
They're somewhere between a clone and a hybrid game wise.
Sure.
If you've played Omega Protocol but haven't played Extreme Prejudice, they are that middle ground between slightly better than clones but not as good as hybrids.
And folks are also asking about some of the other level 7 games and their availability and stuff. Omega Protocol is, I think, the only one that's really out of print.
The core Omega Protocol is the only thing out of print.
Difficult to find. The other ones you can generally go into your store and pick them up.
Yeah, we've reprinted Escape a couple of times, and it's currently still in print, and Invasion is also in print.
Yep. So basically, ask your local game store if they don't have it in stock. They can talk to their distributor or get a hold of us at retailsupport@privateerpress.com, and we'll figure it out for you.
And Escape also has an expansion called Lockdown, so there's a little bit of an add-on for that one as well. Invasion didn't really get an expansion because we built it not to need one, kind of, because
it's the end of the chapter.
Such a big game, and is the finale of the story. It introduces another kind of alien, and they blow up the world.
Hooray!
So if you don't know, if you haven't seen the games, Escape is played
Spoiler alert.
on Escape is played on a map made of 3x3 tiles, basically, and you start with one tile in the middle, and you run and you explore the map. You try to find a way out.
I think Dallas just opened my favorite color.
A blue?
It looked like Exile blue.
I'm sorry, I'm listening to you guys. What were you saying?
Sure. So you play on a ever-evolving map as you explore it. Omega Protocol, you play on a dungeon map, basically. A bunch of rooms that are made of 1-inch squares.
It's set, but it can change.
They're laid out in a certain way, and there's doors, and there's room detail cards, and that kind of stuff. And then Invasion's played on a map of the world. So you play as countries, what we call coalitions, which are chunks of continents. So it scales up from you being a terrified civilian running for your life in the dark, to you being a badass or the aliens, to you being the remnants of humanity trying to hold off an alien invasion while you try to help Dr. Kronos save the day. Gotcha. Not that you trust Dr. Kronos, but he's your only chance.
So just based on a couple of questions that have been floating around, simplest way to answer kind of a bunch of different versions of the same question is, so the Kickstarter is going to run, for that set period, which I believe is through the end of the month. So not
around 2
long.
weeks.
And realistically, and part of the reason that this is such a simple Kickstarter campaign is the idea is really just like, okay, a bunch of people have asked for level 7.
Yeah.
Is there enough that it's worth doing the reprint? Because, well, like you mentioned, there's a lot of stuff in this box, so it's not a cheap one to make. And so if we're going to reprint it, we have to make sure that we have enough people.
And we did a pretty good print run the first time around, but we have had consistent questions over the years from distributors and game stores and players asking if it was going to come back in print.
Yep.
And so this is a chance to basically make that decision by letting the players make that decision. If enough people want to pick up a copy, then we'll reprint it. But if there's not enough demand, then we won't.
Right. It is about the simplest form of a Kickstarter there could be.
I hope we get to print it because I really want that better plastic quality to be out in the world because it's awesome. Dallas is going to show that many eventually.
He's in the tank right now. He's doing his thing.
He's working on all the armor. Dallas, are you now starting to shade armor? So what's your shading color?
I mixed Umbral Umber and a little Exile Blue, and this will tone down some of the metallosity of our boiler black in the shadows. It also adds a little touch of blue in there. And
I do like the word metallosity.
Metallosity. And then we'll do one more shade with we'll add some Thamar black to that. And this is real simple. I'm not doing anything real complex here. This is for a tabletop miniatures board game, right? So just going to have fun with her.
We have decided that name is pronounced Onino.
Onino J.
Onino J.
He's my dog.
And Onino J says that Undercity is one of their favorite games, so they're excited to give this a try.
Undercity's fun. I like Undercity.
Undercity's different because it is a fully co-op game where it's the team versus the table. The rules of the game do everything.
Versus the event deck, basically. Yeah.
And the thing that makes Omega Protocol more interesting, to a certain extent,
is the Overseer.
Is that Undercity, as good as it is, as smart as it can pretend to be, it's still just the AI of the game. And you can only program so much AI into a card deck.
Yep.
And I programmed it mean, but it's not super mean. We wanted you to be heroic characters that usually accomplish your task in that game. So we made it difficult but not impossible.
You have to have the threat of Phil.
In Omega Protocol, one of the things that a lot of the reviews have said about the game and other people have told me is that it is a dungeon crawl game where the GM doesn't have to pull punches. Because some dungeon crawl games are built to be very much like an RPG. And in an RPG, you want your players to go through the story because you're trying to tell the story.
You want there to be the fear of failure, but you want everyone to be having fun.
So when they open that door and there's a dragon in there, they can probably handle that dragon. Unless the story is the dragon chases you off and you can't handle it. In Omega Protocol, we built a very balanced system that's hardly random at all. And it allows the Overseer player to play pretty mean and both sides to still have a pretty good chance of victory. Now, to a certain extent, that scales up as you play, because if you watch Tuesday, Tuesday was mission 2. Tuesday, that mission was not that difficult, because mission 1 is a tutorial mission. It's pretty basic. Mission 2 is kind of establishing, there are other kinds of bad guys. There's other kinds of things
Here's
going on.
the cadence and the rhythm of the game.
But there are 9 missions in that core game.
Oh, yeah, and they get rough.
Yeah. And by the end, all the stops are just gone. And
well, that
the Overseer's throwing all kinds of scary
stops
things
are
at you.
Pretty much gone by the 5th mission.
Sure. Well, it starts to really ramp up around 3 and 4.
Right, and then by 5, it's like, hope you got the hang of this, because here goes nothing.
Yeah. The other thing that somebody might have noticed in that game, the crisis point of this game, which is another. Oh, I'm looking at the chat and getting distracted. I'll look away. The crisis point of the game, which is one of my favorite things about it, and I did make it, so it's a little bit egotistical to say that there are things I like about it a lot. But I'll say it anyway. I don't care. So you can't kill players at the beginning of the game, right? Because if you're playing a 6-player game and you die early and you have to walk away, that's boring. So like Dallas saw in our game on Tuesday, I beat Dallas to death pretty early on. But Dallas got picked up just like you pick up people in a video game, because this game has a lot of similarities to video games. And Dallas got healed back up, and Dallas got to play the rest of the game.
And be kind of a scathing badass with his 9 inches of steel.
Yeah.
Getting taken out and sitting and watching the rest of your friends play is no fun.
Yeah. So when you get beat all the way down to
not participating is not fun.
When you get beat down to the down stance, you do kind of learn you lose one turn, but you don't lose the entire game. But at the crisis point, which is when things really get serious, if you get killed, you're dead, but the game is pretty much wrapping up at that point.
So Dallas, looks like you're still shading at the moment.
Yeah, we're just working the shade into the backside of the armor here.
I really like how those colors are turning out. They're not like super high saturation, and I always like, especially for lack of a better word, more realistic minis.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not a fantasy setting. It's not like super future sci-fi. It's very like, this could be now.
Yeah, we based a bunch of this tech on existing things. Like for their rifles, for example, we looked at next generation military
like meat
rifles.
sacks.
The meat sack has 2 regular rifles, much like these rifles, on it, and it's a self-contained suit, but it's built off of a lot of stuff that looks like modern or slightly future human technology.
But one of the reasons that I like playing with and painting these kind of minis is you get to go into some very realistic tones that you don't necessarily always get to play with, other than say with trenchers and a couple other infantry choices that you really get to do that on.
It's also fun to explore lots of dark colors, because these are covert military, wetworks teams.
They're not meant to stand out.
Yeah. If you read some of the fiction in the game, and if you read the novel Judas Protocol, they're not really 100% set up just to take out the aliens if anything ever goes wrong. They're also set up to chase down any kind of alien tech that gets stolen.
Rogue agents.
Or every once in a while a clone will wriggle out of a vent and run off, and so the these
Damn
people
clones.
these people are trained to deal with all kinds of stuff, and sometimes that means other human militaries. The story of Judas Protocol starts out with them raiding a Chinese facility because there's a rogue Gin that's made a deal with the Chinese to a certain extent, and so they're trying to track down what's going on. And so they go to a Chinese facility, and I think they try to recover a piece of equipment, but they get in a regular firefight with humans.
Mm-hmm.
And you can buy Judas Protocol on our website, store.privateerpress.com, and you can also buy the short story Danger Close, which is a prequel to Invasion, but still has one of the same characters and still deals with some of the conspiracy and the fallout of Omega Protocol.
I actually really like those novels. Like,
They're-
I actually read Judas Protocol before I had played any of the games.
Yeah, yeah. It's a very fun modern military story about
Thriller.
people running around the world, getting in fights with aliens and stuff, and it culminates with them going into a secret facility, which is Subterra Foxtrot. So there's at least up to the letter F number of these bases hidden around the world, and it's in Alaska. So there's like ice tunnels and all kinds of weird, creepy stuff, and a submarine with Russians.
Hooray!
Yeah. Dallas is so focused.
The hunt for turquoise November.
I'm not.
No, he's just painting. So Dallas, with these muted tones, is there anything kind
They're
of?
not really muted. I'm not quite understanding.
Okay, let me rephrase. You brought some blues in with your shade, right? Or what is your next like contrast point?
Well, there'll be bright greens because I'm going to paint her goggles like they're night vision goggles.
Sweet.
Because she does have
Yeah.
special goggles that
Yeah.
she can wear to help your commandos. And probably a little bit of red somewhere, like on the wristband to like indicate like some sort of control panel or something like that.
Or maybe something that displays information in infrared, so when other people look at her with their night vision goggles, it like gives like identification stuff.
Sure.
Possibly. These are super high-tech commandos. They are
Super high-tech.
beyond modern military technology. They're carrying M18s.
They can literally do whatever they want.
And some of them incorporate, like I said earlier, alien technology. So the Gin are all psychic, and all their tech interfaces with them psychically. And humans aren't psychic in the setting. But if a human goes through the proper training and gets the proper implants,
Does brain push-ups?
basically, they can interface with the tech.
And that's
But
what
it does kind of slowly kill you. So she doesn't have a lot of tech, but the countermeasure specialist and the meat sack and those people, they're kind of cyborgs. They've had a lot of brain rewiring. They've probably got permanent implants in parts of their spine and stuff, and they have to have those to interface.
And what were you gonna say, Dallas?
You're good.
Okay.
So Halbot says, any chance of a mini crate model for level 7? I think we're pretty much just sticking to War Machine Hordes for now, but who knows what the future holds, because I mean, we've got the Legend of the Five Rings
Who knows what we'll do?
dopeness, but
Yeah.
we Privateer Press, we do what we want.
It's the same thing. There was an earlier question about possible other level 7 projects being kickstarted. Part of this is also to gauge general interest for stuff. So if like this Kickstarter goes bonkers and 1 million people back it, then anything's possible.
Well, yeah, I mean that's just the thing with kind of any endeavor is in success, more things are possible.
Yeah.
Looks like you got some deeper shades you're doing now.
So what I'm doing is using my shade color for the armor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm painting that over top of the zenithal highlight of the pants to make a dark cloth.
Oh, okay.
And then that will allow, and then I'll darken that up even more. So I'm cheating. I'm using my armor shade as also my basically base coat for the soft bits of the uniform.
That makes sense because I mean, commandos like to break up their outline and stuff makes it harder to see them moving around.
Sort of like back here, I can just.
Blurp. And their suits are not completely contained. There are bits of Kevlar and stuff in between the armor plates.
Yeah, and you don't want to really paint a bunch of texture in those subdermal like areas because that's complex.
Yeah.
So I'll just use dark colors to kind of indicate that there's some sort of soft cloth, whatever properties it has, it kind of has. Right, but it just needs to look like soft cloth. The flexible cloth where her bits bend. And then once we highlight everything, the metal bits will stand out even more. So I'll just do like a nice wash on this stuff too.
More metallosity.
We should do more super metallics, by the way. I heard you say that these are less metallic because you don't want everything super metallic.
These are, yeah, the boiler black and the galvanized steel is a, I don't remember what I'm saying. I don't even remember what I'm saying.
I'm talking about the semi-metallics.
Yeah. So it actually increases the metal look.
I've also seen people online paint these so that their plates are very shiny and it still looks completely fine for them to have.
Yeah, I think you could do these however you kind of. You can obviously do them however you want, but I think some shiny metal will look cool too.
Yeah.
And since they are such an elite team, they don't necessarily have to be wholly consistent between them because usually like specialist of the special ops folks get to like customize their gear.
And the reason in the base game that they are not named, so this is the team leader and there's a recon specialist and stuff, is because there are multiple teams. Even in the base game story, there's disco, hard rock, and Motown. Because usually they're named something when they interface with each other. So like in the Crucible event, they're knight, rook, queen, and bishop, or king and bishop.
Right.
So the government conspiracy military industrial complex has multiple teams, and members can even shift around sometimes for different missions.
Multiple teams of deniable assets doing what must be done to end the alien threat.
And we even we have one character that's now appeared in lots of stuff, but she's not one of the main characters in this game. She's their helicopter pilot in Judas Protocol, and then she gets brought in to get hardwired for alien tech so she can fly basically a flying saucer, which appears in Danger Close and in Judas Protocol. And then, since she's already wired to be basically a test pilot for alien tech in the story of Extreme Prejudice, she's the one inside the meat sack suit first.
And Alec was asking you, Dallas, what you might be thinking about doing for the base, if anything.
That's a good question. I don't know. I haven't thought about the base. I was thinking about just making it plain black, but I think maybe metallic. Maybe put some hazard stripes on it so it looks like a facility floor.
Like one of the tiles from the game, so to speak.
Yeah. Maybe I'll have one of my sculptors sculpt me like a little head or something, or some little gear on that so I can throw on there. I don't know.
We did do a lot of detail on those tiles. They're mostly like concrete floor with cracks and stuff, but there's also office chairs and various bits of pieces.
Yeah, there's some really good
and there have been
tiles.
firefights in the room, so there's broken bits of stuff and rubble, so you could even put rubble and like concrete cracked and stuff on the base.
Rikers Iron just got real excited for hazard stripes.
Well, yeah, everyone loves hazard stripes.
Hazard
I
stripes are
almost
awesome.
I almost want to ask you to do hazard stripes because I want to see how you paint the hazard stripes.
I usually use a brush.
Smackety smackety doo.
But you use painter's tape.
It's a technique I would like to see.
Sure.
But I'm selfish.
I usually use painter's tape. This is just gonna kind of want to darken down low. So I want to increase the drama. I want to keep her back very black and dark. Maybe put a little blue back there for shadow, for highlights. But
She's crawling through the dark spaces.
I want her to look like she's in in a darkened facility, right?
Super creepy subterranean facility. What color are you thinking about going for the hair?
Dark.
Dark brown, black?
Yeah. Oh, I forgot our glove.
So I have a copy of, between me and my roommate, we have all the level 7 games and expansions at the house, and I'm still actually really excited for the newer bits.
Yeah. Well, that bonus material thing is going to have, like I said, kit cards for the commandos. It's going to have alternate stat cards for villains, because if you've played Extreme Prejudice, one of the things we introduced there was there are a number of enemies in the base game, and each enemy comes with a stat card. In Extreme Prejudice, we introduced alternate stat cards, so when you set up as the bad guy, you pick one stat card that reflects what that model type acts like. So if you're taking...
there's some variants.
Yeah, so if you're taking a bunch of clones, you can take this kind of clone or that kind of clone. And part of this expansion is going to be another alternate stat card for every published villain type. So you're going to be able to get between 3. And there's also going to be some new room tiles, some new room cards that do different things. There's going to be a med station you can find that is a place to heal. But like you saw, if you watch Tuesday's stream, Schick was right. You don't want to stop in this game. You want to keep pushing forward.
Gotta keep going.
You have to open doors, and you can't close doors.
Right.
So if you do find the med station, it's good for you because you can stand there and heal up faster, but you're also losing time. So it's a benefit for the overseer as well.
Yeah, it seems real bad to stop.
It is the way the overseer wins, because the crisis point I talked about earlier is on a clock. It'll happen eventually. It always happens when you find the objective, but if you don't find the objective in time, it happens on a round counter. And once that crisis point starts, you can die, and the overseer is basically trying to slow you down so that he can get to that point and kill you, so you don't all get to the objective.
Right.
Will Schick was telling stories on this beginning of the stream a little bit that he played the game at Gen Con the year it launched, I believe. It was with a couple of employees, but a couple other friends of theirs, and they played 4 or more hours. I think they started at like 11, they finished at 4 in the morning or something like that. And Schick did convince them, not by telling them to, but by setting up the map in a certain way and presenting the enemies in a certain way. He convinced them to stop halfway there and fight aliens. And the aliens don't stop coming in this game.
Right.
There's always aliens.
And the more you do, the more adrenaline you feed to the overseer.
And that's the thing we haven't talked about yet. The other really popular part about the game is the action economy.
Right.
So a lot of games have action points like I can move once, or I can move twice, or I can shoot twice, or those kind of things. In this game, there are action points, but they're adrenaline. When you do something like shoot your gun or move your model or whatever, you gain adrenaline. So you're grabbing tokens and putting them on your base, on your stat card. And then at the beginning of the round, all those adrenaline tokens come to the overseer, and they're his action points too. So whatever the commandos do, like when the commando misses a shot,
and decides
that's
to roll
just
again,
free. That's just free adrenaline that the overseer gets. When you spawn a clone based on a card, that's a clone you didn't have to pay to spawn. And when the commandos kill it, that's adrenaline back to you.
Right.
And so it creates a really cool cycle of everything the commandos do feeds the overseer. And so you have to gauge the value of all your actions. What were you gonna say, Dallas?
Oh, I don't remember.
Was it about the game yesterday and playing with?
No.
There was that one round. There was that one round where you.
Oh no, I was
didn't
just
give me
gonna
any
say I
adrenaline.
really like that action economy, like in the game. I like the way that the what you spend is what I spend is what you spend.
It was kind of what made the game work. Like in early development, we were trying to figure out, because I wanted the commandos to have interesting choices, and I wanted the overseer to have some sort of limiting factor, and I didn't want to make it a deck of overseer cards or something like that. And when I realized that the things that the commandos do their actions with, and the things the overseer does his stuff with, could be the same system, is when the game really came together and started flowing.
Well, I think what it does is it really makes the commandos make decisions, and that's the stuff I really enjoy.
Yeah, it's the stress of decision
Yeah.
making.
Well, and instead of saying no, you can't do that. What you're saying is like you can absolutely do that. However,
Yeah, and there's no limitation on like number of attacks or whatever. Like if you have adrenaline 6, an attack costs 2, you can shoot 3 times, but you didn't move. Some people have ways to shoot more, like the heavy weapon specialist. If he takes the stance, which makes him not move, he can shoot for 1 adrenaline, and he can shoot 4 times that turn. But that means he's, that action movie pose of him standing at the door just mowing down everything that comes at him. But that means he didn't go anywhere. And I've seen lots of playtest games where the heavy guy guards a door and then dies, but he helped the team accomplish their goal.
right?
When that's all that really matters.
Yeah, because the game does have a campaign mode where wounds carry over and that kind of stuff. But the core game is play the missions in order, but reset every time.
Right.
So you can play the harder mode campaign thing after you've played the game some and figured out like how the game works, and then you play even harder. Where if you take damage, then it's dangerous because next game you still have that damage.
Do a little highlight on her armor,
Bring some of the details back in focus, so to speak.
and I'm going to use a mix of galvanized steel and boiler black.
She's starting to look like a real commando.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I still need to do another layer on her soft materials.
Yeah.
Or BDUs, as it were.
But I just want to start blocking in some of these little highlights here, just to start to identify stuff.
Are you gonna do any kind of source lighting things with her? Do you think?
Not necessarily source lighting. I am going to push highlights to this front side, but I'm not going to do it over dramatically.
I just didn't know because this happens mostly in a dark place, but there are like floodlights and random flickering panels and that kind of stuff. So I didn't know if you were gonna do like part of her, like her right side was catching some extra
Catching
light.
some green or something.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you definitely could on this model and really grab some atmosphere, and I think that would be great. I'm going to play with some atmosphere, but not a lot.
There's also various parts of her you can make lights besides just her goggles.
And that's the thing is I want to focus on, like I want to put like a little light there in the, I know that scopes don't actually light up, but I think like making that kind of a red dot and then putting the dots in there and then like maybe turn this into like a command panel with some squiggly lines. Play with stuff like that.
So How About has a good question, Dallas. He wants to know if all of us have a favorite commando to play. We built your commando, the recon specialist, to be the knife guy when you played Tuesday.
He was fun.
But do you have any other?
I think Meat Sack is really interesting. And actually, I kind of like the Commander.
The commander's fun because I got Schick to admit his real
Reason for liking
his
that
real
character.
reason for life in
Because
general
he gets to tell people
is
what to do
tell
and
people what to do.
manipulate them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So each of these heroes is way different. So the rifleman can be built to be a manager of drones that can interfere with the overseers but help the other commandos and that kind of stuff.
And be a healer.
He can also be the
like
medic.
Hartford did.
He can also carry a shotgun, which is a bit of crowd control. He can also be kind of a sniper, a little bit, and then has a lot of other sub-builds. The heavy weapon specialist has the biggest gun in the game. Also can have napalm grenades. Also can like knock people around and stuff. And he's pretty much all offense, but can take some defense stuff like extra armor.
Sure.
The team leader is really fun if you like being bossy, because the team leader has commander abilities.
Like,
So
here you go.
Or
You get
just
to move
being
again.
support.
like we saw Schick the other day. He could
Maybe you don't want to be a bossy. Maybe you just want to be an enabler.
Sure. It's a bit of an enabler and a bit of bossy. It just depends on how your personality goes. Schick obviously likes to be bossy. So like the team leader has an ability that says, "Hey, you over there, you move when I move," or "I'm gonna shoot your gun for you," kind of thing. the team leader is basically like the buff bot on the team. He helps everybody be better, and can be a little selfish, but is the least selfish of the players. The countermeasure specialist is my favorite.
Yeah.
Because
Is that what I played?
I like being the annoying guy.
Is that what Dallas played?
No, you played Recon.
Okay.
Recon is about movement and exploring the map and melee. No, everybody else has a knife, but they don't really want to melee things. The meat sack can melee things. It can take a melee upgrade, that kind of stuff. But that Recon guy, he's all about getting where he needs to be, opening doors, being the first person in the room, and then stabbing things. With 9 inches of steel, as we heard.
9 inches.
Everybody else has a combat knife. He has a hunting knife because he's a backwoods Wyoming guy. And he grew up running around the woods stabbing things. And he joined the military to run around the world and stab things. He's a pretty straightforward.
Yeah, why limit your range of stabbing?
Yeah. The countermeasure specialist is my favorite because a lot of players they're active people that want to be aggressive and do things actively, they don't like that character because it's a very passive character. But it's also a really, really annoying character for the Overseer. Because the countermeasure specialist, he's called that because he has a bunch of tech in his suit that interferes with the aliens. So the commandos are gaining adrenaline as they play. And his suit can hide some of that adrenaline from the Overseer. Or force the Overseer to pay extra adrenaline to activate aliens near the countermeasure specialist. Or that kind of stuff. He can also see through the cloak. The little Gen and the big Gen, they can mess with your mind and kind of blur their images and make you see double. His suit counteracts that, so he can shoot the little rogue clones from a distance, and nobody else really can. So he can build himself to be a sniper and be offensive, or he can build himself to just basically be a bubble of annoyance that walks around the map and shoots people every once in a while and stuff, but is mostly there just to hamper the Overseer. And to some players, that's a really fun position to play, and that I like it a lot too.
I like denial.
Fun denial. Not like you don't get to do stuff, just
Well,
haha, now it's more challenging.
making people stop is always fun.
And then the Gen Commando in the expansion, because we've talked about the meat sack a lot, but we haven't talked about the Gen Commando. The Gen Commando is the offensive side of the countermeasure specialist. He has Gen Tech. He can take over an alien for one activation and make it walk
Gentech
over
is a
and smack
terrible
something.
name for a company.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't want to do that. It would show off that you're aliens because it's the name of your race.
Yeah.
But he can also has this kind of chain lightning ability because all the aliens are psychic. So he shoots one with his psychic gun and it like fries that one's brain, and then that wave jumps to the next guy and that kind of stuff.
Psychokinetic brain leaps.
He can also have a mental duel with the Overseer where both roll a die, and if he wins, he gets to put adrenaline on a dashboard thing, and you can't activate dashboard things that have adrenaline. They also cool down, so they can't activate again until they're empty. So he can mess with that. But if he loses that dice roll, he gets adrenaline himself, and it can push him above his max.
So very risk reward.
Yeah. John, do you have a favorite commando?
It is a tie. I like playing the commander because most of the time that I've played the game, I've played with people that haven't, and so that's a really if you're not playing the Overseer, it's a really good commando to take to teach people to play.
Yeah.
Right. Like here, I'm going to make everything you do better, and in situations where maybe you don't necessarily know what to do, via the mechanics of the game, I can help you out. And then I also really like the countermeasure specialist because I do like both of those play styles.
Yeah. So the other thing about the team leader, one of my favorite things I did in this game. I've played a lot of dungeon crawl games, and I've played some RPGs, but not as much as I have dungeon crawl games. And usually, there's no one in charge, and the whole group argues over, I should go open that door. No, you shouldn't open that door. You're the archer. You should wait for the door to open. You should shoot the goblin that's standing behind the door. That kind of stuff. The team leader has initiative cards. So initiative isn't determined by the rules of the game. The team leader is the veto power that says, Dallas is going to go first because he's playing Recon, so I'm going to give him the one initiative card. You're the heavy weapon specialist. You stand by the door and mow down everything in there. I'm going to give you the 2. So it creates also that military play style of one person's kind of calling the shots, and the whole entire team can discuss what happens, but those initiative cards are the veto power of, no, we don't want you to go first. You need to go third because we have a plan.
I do like that mechanic think it's very clever.
It is because it also doesn't. It doesn't play too much into the whole like alpha gamer thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's not going to let them ruin the game for the other players.
But like you said, as a person teaching new players, you can take the alpha gamer spot and be the team leader and distribute initiative and help the players play through the game and help them see how plans are important and all that kind of stuff.
Alex says he feels like watching 5 Type A personalities play this game would be hilarious to watch. Check out check out Tuesday's stream when it's up on YouTube.
It wasn't all. It wasn't all those kind of personalities.
No, but you can get some idea of what that might look like.
Yeah. Pagani was the most interesting player in that game because he's played this game
like once. when
half
you
a time.
demoed it to him.
He got a con demo, which is the basics, and he got that con demo in 2013.
Right.
So he had never played a full game. And you could see people were guiding him through, but he was picking up stuff about dice rolls and movement and all that stuff.
Well,
really
yeah, and
fast.
if he wanted to do a thing, even though other people were like, this is better, he did it anyway.
Yeah.
Because meat sack, missile barrages, barrage pod, however you say it.
Barrage pod. It's a shotgun made of missiles. But it doesn't have very many bullets.
It doesn't need them because they're missiles.
Yeah.
They get the job done.
Dallas, you doing more highlights now? Did you change color?
Yeah, I switched over and did some underbelly, mixed into coal black, and working on her goggles.
Coal black is one of my favorite colors because when my brain was thinking about it, I was like, blue doesn't look good on black. That's weird. And I tried to highlight black with other blues, even darker blues before, and it just didn't look right.
Sure.
But now every time I paint anything black, I dry brush it with coal black, and it looks perfect. Like I don't have to hardly try it all. It's just like that we made this color to complement this other color.
Yep.
It's
the
doing the
bridge
work
between
for
colors.
you. Yeah,
That is why it's there.
it's awesome.
I think Umbral Umber does that really well as well.
Sure. I think that
and even though it's closer to a much more blue saturation, I think Exile Blue does a really good job
Sure.
of it as well. But we just listed like 3 of my 5 favorite colors. So.
yeah. My favorite thing is not a paint; it's a wash. Because the Cossite Flesh Wash is brown, and it makes everything look better. Because I've been paying Pharaoh lately and Tharn and those kind of things, and I want them to look kind of dirty, and I want them to look very very natural. And so half the time I paint any color, whether it's green or brown or red or whatever, and I just wash it with a layer of Cossite, and it makes it look that weathered, outdoorsy, dirty. It's to my painting standards because I don't have very high painting standards. But people have seen my stuff.
You've been painting your Monpok with that, right?
I haven't used much Cossite. If people seen a close up of my Bruggrash, Cossite fixed my Bruggrash. I was trying to do something complicated with him, his tentacles. I painted his tentacles carnal pink, which is a very white pink, because I wanted them to be lighter in color.
Sure.
Then I watered down Piggy. Is Piggy Purple the name of that ink?
Piggy Purple ink, yeah.
I watered it down a lot because I wanted to just barely bring up the purpleness of that.
Yeah.
But it didn't go very well. It was very blotchy and uneven. And I don't know if that's because I mixed it weird or what I did, but it came out very blotchy. Well, there were parts of it that looked almost exactly like I wanted, and there were parts of it that didn't. But I slathered all the tentacles in Cossite Brown, that wash, and it perfectly hid all the blotchiness while keeping the blotchiness, and it made it look exactly like I wanted. And now I'm going to try to replicate that on more Lords of Cthulhu models, but I don't know if I'm going to get that weird blotchy purple wash anymore because I don't really know how I did it. So we're going to try. I'm doing a Taskmaster and some Squicks to add to that army. I'll probably have them at War Machine Weekend. I'm also doing Martians, which I'll have at War Machine Weekend, which I'm doing in a green and purple scheme as well to kind of tie the army together, but in a different green and purple scheme than my Planet Eaters and my Cthulhu.
You should come to my desk.
I should come to your desk. Is there something on your desk that is amazing and I should look at?
I think you should come to my desk.
Are you going to give me something?
I think you should come to my desk.
Well, I mean, the desk you're at right now won't help me at all.
This one won't.
So after this, we'll go downstairs.
Yeah.
If I get to your desk first, do I get
No.
the stuff
No.
instead? Oh.
No. This is not a first come first serve situation. This is Dallas handing out goodies.
So right. So accost Oz after he goes to your desk.
Sure.
Got it.
Sure. If I get waylaid on the staircase, everyone knows it was John.
Waylaid. We should also show off these miniatures real
Yes.
Yeah. She's looking really awesome.
quick. She's almost done.
I was about to say. That was my next question. Is what
she's
what else
not
do you think
done.
you're gonna do with her?
The light stuff he was talking about, like in the
Well, yeah, the lights on the goggles more.
There's some goggle work and some highlight work, and some light work, and then just some details. We're getting there. She's almost done.
Do me a favor, Oz.
Mm-hmm.
That switch over there is the overhead light. I want to see if now that there's more paint on the model, if that
Okay.
brings it up at all. A little bit. Shows off some of the colors a little bit better.
Do we turn it off?
No, don't leave it on. Unless Dallas needs it off for painting. I can't imagine why. Usually mo light, mo better. Usually.
I need to get this eye just a little bit better real quick.
Speaking of that, that's the next upgrade I have to do to my painting at home. Is I have to get a better lamp. My lamp is terrible. I bought a little desk lamp. I was like, this will be great. It's really directional. It creates horrible shadows.
Yeah,
I
you
have
don't
to
want that.
rotate the bottle so much to get to see things. It's real bad. Because light is a super important part of painting. Don't ever underestimate.
Frothy Cat says your gift is an entire donut at my desk, and I say, Oz, I want a donut shop for Mom Pop.
We've talked about this.
Yeah,
There will more than likely be a donut shop sometime in the future because
confirmed.
buildings with cool details look good.
Yeah.
Right? Because you don't want to make some shop that is just nondescript
No,
square.
just a square chunk of
Like-
resin.
Like we've made a couple of big square buildings that are interesting, but we don't want to make every single building
No,
square.
I want to make it hard for production.
So yeah. And in a lot of downtowns, older buildings have big signage on them, that kind of stuff. So yeah,
These are-
those are our two things. So you can barely tell the color difference in here.
There's a color difference,
But-
this
but-
is barely. But this is the old one from the first.
Wiggle that arm too.
Oh, the arm.
Yeah.
He's dancing.
I'm gonna stop motion this guy. So that's an original
Sure.
guy.
And then this is the new guy, and he's much I can't even
He can just kind of headbang.
Yeah.
I'm putting way more pressure on this guy than I am this guy, and this guy just rolls up. So it's much stiffer plastic, so it's a little better.
But it still has some give so it doesn't just
Yeah.
snap.
And then this is going to be resin.
Yep.
Just all resin. And then that's the Gin dude.
That is
He's cool
Dr.
looking.
Kronos. Which is also a new sculpt. I mean a new casting.
Yes.
But we
this
wanted to
is,
show, compare and contrast two models of the exact same type that didn't
Yeah.
have any paint on them yet.
well, too tall. Yeah, I like this guy. I think he's really cool looking. I'm trying to decide what colors to do. I'm thinking I'm going to do like a white.
Yeah, that is supposed to be a alien lab coat. So in the
Yeah.
art, he's wearing a whitish, kind of clear plastic whitish lab coat situation.
Right. And then
You can
like
make
the
that look cool and gross.
Yeah.
yeah.
And the
Is that
little
it?
aliens are usually pretty gross and bloody and slimy and that kind of stuff. 'cause
Yeah, they're
they've
pretty
been-
visceral.
They've been eating escapees from the testing facility.
So it's been an hour, and my level 7 commander's almost done. So we'll get a little bit more on her sometime. And this is for the Kickstarter that comes out on Monday,
Yep, the 15th.
the 15th.
It's going to run to the end of the month. Gonna
There
give
she is in
you-
all of her glory. I should put a little green in her Under Armour. She has a little green there. I should put a little green in there.
Oh, you're
That's a
talking
good
about
idea.
up on the illustration. Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess there's a little bit of green to it. kind of a some kind of olive-ish, maybe some Ordic olive or I don't know, battle dress green.
Yeah, I think it needs a little green in there on her. We can do that still. So remember, every Tuesday is the weekly Rumble at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Every Wednesday is the Dev Hangout, where you get to hear some developers talk about developing the developments. And then every Thursday is Get Your Paint On.
That is all true.
It's all true. And tomorrow is the Primecast. Go ahead.
I was just thinking Primecast.
Sure. So this Friday is Primecast, 10 a.m. So join in tomorrow. Who knows what will happen? It'll be a madcap mayhem misadventure of mishaps and misfortunes.
You never know who might walk in that room.
You never know who might walk into that room.
Entirely true. As many signs as I put on the door, it still happens. JR.
They quietly open the door.
Right. And
then yell things at us.
JR.
Yeah.
Yeah. Happens. Yeah. It's lunchtime.
It's time for lunch. So until next time, everybody, thanks for joining us on Get Your Paint On. Oz, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
I'm excited for the campaign, and I'm sure we'll see and hear more from you as the campaign goes. And hopefully pick up the novels, pick up the scenarios, and check it out.
Yeah.
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 Uh-huh.
Lunchtime.
Goodbye.